Just clip it to your, yeah, you're good.
Excuse us while we get some issues. Is my mic on? No.
Is it green?
It's green.
All right, you're good.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Vero Beach, as we like to call it, UUFVB. I hope you have a warm, wonderful Florida sunshine day. It's absolutely gorgeous out there, and I'm glad you're spending time with us, and I hope you find this a safe place to land and find a home with us. My name is Laura Matson. My pronouns are her and she. I'm a tall, white woman with reddish-brownish hair, and today I'm wearing a brightly colored blouse, and I have brown glasses on.
Yeah, here, let's see here. Oh, that's right. There we go. Let's see if I can, it's just there. Try that.
Is that better? No, that's not better?
He's working on it. Right now?
Right now?
Oh, no. All right, second choice. Can we do this? Try that.
Okay. Now is that better? Woo-hoo, yay, technology. So our mission at this congregation is we, a caring, liberal, religious community, encourage spiritual growth and seek justice for all. And I wanted to just take a brief moment to tell you what is it about Unitarian Universalism that really touches me. And for those of you that may have seen Jesse Jackson's funeral the other day, what touched me is how Unitarian Universalism are advocates for democracy. It's in our all of our literature. We support it not only in society at large, but it's how we conduct our business here. And watching these great leaders who for years have fought for democracy and realizing how much more fight there is left to do, I was so proud to be a Unitarian Universalist and know that we're engaged in that fight. And I also want to remind us that in 2 weeks from today, Reverend Tom is going to be doing a sermon on democracy, and you'll be able to hear some of the activities that our members are doing to support democracy. And also, please join us at March 28th when we have the No Kings rally, and proudly wear your UU shirts. Join hundreds of thousands of people throughout the country to support democracy. If you are here for your first time, we bid you a special welcome and invite you to join us for coffee hour after this service. And just follow the crowd. Go down to Fellowship Hall. There's coffee, there's treats. And if you would, take a red mug, and that helps us identify you as a new person and gives us a chance to give you a warm UU welcome. A reminder, please turn off your cell phones if you have not done so yet. And I also want to make an announcement that we have one of my favorite social functions coming up in a week, which is our auction, our annual auction, and it's a big fundraiser for this congregation. It's a fundraiser, and it's also a fundraiser. If you haven't been to one of our auctions, what did somebody said? Put on your big boy pants and hang on for the ride, because it is a lot of fun. And is Minnie here? Anybody from the auction committee? I understand we still need some help. So if you're willing to help with the auction, please let Minnie know, or who else from here would be a coordinator of that?
There we go, Mike.
Who is it?
Mike, right there, Michael.
Oh, Michael Byrne. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. I have something to say. All right. How about that? For those of you who haven't turned in your pledge card, maybe you left it at home, or you forgot to turn it in. I know it could be on your desk or upstairs on your nightstand, someplace. We are ready today to help you, to make it as easy as possible for you to turn in your pledge for July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. That's when the pledge is for. We have pledge envelopes with your name on them, so no need to worry. We want you to make it as easy as possible for you to turn in your pledge card today. Please keep in mind this is not the pledge you need to pay right now. You can pay it between July 1st, 2026 and June 30th, 2027. But we need your pledge card to make a budget for next year. John and Eileen want to say something to you, and they'll be in the lobby. Go ahead, John. Here we go, here we go, just in case. Make it look. Go ahead.
Really? So the bottom line is I can't really add to what Reverend Tom has said, but we really do need to make a budget. And we have about 100 people who have not put in their pledge cards yet. So please do that. And for those of you who are over 73 and a few people over 75, use your required minimum distribution if you do. I mean, a lot of us do. It's the most painless way. Do you agree with me? Thanks a lot. It's the most painless way that you can give because you know you didn't pay any taxes on the way in, and if you give it to us, you won't pay any taxes on the way out.
Okay. There are envelopes right there in their hands. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for that, John. I'll always remember that I didn't pay taxes on the way in, so that's a good memory. So this is a time in our service where we get a chance to get to know each other. So take a moment, look around you, see if there's anybody you don't know or maybe not know well, and take a few moments to greet each other.
All right. Oh, good morning, good morning.
Good morning. Bless your heart and mind. If you can't find it, let
It's
me
all
know.
good.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Love the shirt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good to see you.
By the way, I got that book from the library.
It is our tradition to light a chalice at the beginning of our service. So as I light the chalice, you'll join me in saying these words. To be a Unitarian Universalist means we'll never be done with the work of telling the truth about oppression, the work of resisting any laws, policies, or practice that deny anyone their humanity, the work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine in each other. To be a Unitarian Universalist also means we're not alone in this work.
Since our whole service is about women today, I looked in the hymnal and I found this number 51, which I don't ever recall singing, but it is in our hymnal for those of you who want to follow along. Lady of the Season's Laughter. And we're going to sing verses 1 and 4, but Elisa's going to play it through one time so you can just get a feel for it.
Good morning. Today I'll be sharing with you a brief history about one of our UU ancestors, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. She was a mother, an author, an activist, a poet, a suffragist, a Black woman, and so much more. She held dual membership in Unitarian and African Methodist Episcopal churches in Philadelphia and believed the struggles for Black Americans and women of all races were all connected. Her literary works and speeches were largely forgotten until scholars and Unitarian Universalists resurrected her legacy in the last 25 years. She was born Frances Ellen Watkins to free parents in Baltimore in 1825. Watkins Harper was raised by her aunt and uncle in a thriving free Black community, which is where she attended an academy run by her uncle until she was 13. She grew up in the world where most Black Americans were enslaved against their wills, and women had no rights as citizens, forcing them to rely on male relatives to provide legal and financial support. But Watkins Harper had a talent. She was a gifted writer. She published her first book of poetry at the age of 20, and at that time began earning her reputation as a leading abolitionist. In 1853, she began touring the country, giving talks for the American Anti-Slavery Society. Although Frances Ellen Watkins Harper was well acquainted with racial discrimination, the death of her husband in 1864 reinforced her work toward the rights and fair treatment of all women and strengthened her awareness toward the struggles of womanhood. After the death of her husband, she encountered property and economic issues that stripped her of her home, children, and working tools. This experience was an epiphany for Watkins Harper, revealing to her women's overall powerlessness under the law and the commonality she shared with white women who were demanding equal rights. Further, it compelled her to return to her advocacy and rededicate herself to the cause of equal rights for all. 1 year later, Harper waged a dual campaign for women's suffrage and civil rights for all citizens. In May 1866, she gave a groundbreaking speech at the National Women's Rights Convention in New York, saying before thousands, "Justice is not fulfilled so long as woman is unequal before the law. We are bound up together in one great bundle of humanity, and society cannot trample on the weakest and feeblest of its members without receiving the curse in its own soul." It is noted through the New York Historical Society that Harper had been emphasizing this point to the white women in her audience, who sat quietly as Black women faced injustices right in front of them. In her final comments, she boldly challenges her audience of white women for their complicity in the oppression of Black people. She emphasizes that if white women are unaware of the oppression Black women are experiencing in America, this double disenfranchisement, then women's suffrage is nothing more than rhetoric and selfishness. Going back to the beginnings of the tours of talks she shared throughout the country, during that time she also became the first African American woman to publish a short story. In 1859, Harper published a short story about women's education called The Two Offers in the Anglo-African magazine. Janine Grossmeyer, in the Dictionary of Unitarian Universalist Biography, writes that the piece is actually a sermon on the important life choices made by young people, women in particular. The tale relates the tragedy of a woman who mistakenly thinks romance and married love to be the only goal and center of her life. "Talk as you will of women's deep capacity for loving," Watkins preached, "of the strength of her affectional nature, I do not deny it. But will the mere possession of any human love fully satisfy all the demands of her whole being? But woman, the true woman, if you render her happy, it needs more than the mere development of her affectional nature. Her conscience should be enlightened, her faith in the true and right established, and scope given to her heaven-endowed and God-given faculties." Frances Ellen Watkins Harper went on to become one of the first Black women to publish a novel at age of 67. This novel, entitled Eola Leroy, or Shadows Uplifted, was written in 1892 and is now a part of our UU library if you're interested in reading a piece of literary history.
As you journey, may you know, love and hope go with you, love and hope go with you, learn and grow, learn and grow.
someone asked me to light a candle of peace. I thought, what a great idea to light a candle of peace during each of our services. But as I thought about it a little bit more, I wondered, what peace? Peace in Ukraine, peace in the Middle East, peace between people out in the world who are going through such divisiveness and uproar, peace between us here in this congregation. And so, what I'm going to do is to light a peace for all of those, a candle for peace for all of those things and any other things that are on your heart. So may this be a candle of peace that grounds you, helps you, supports you, and gives you hope.
Now, this is the time in our service when we acknowledge that we come together with our own joys and sorrows, our gifts and our needs. So before us on the tables is water, the very sustenance of life. Water can buoy us up, it can nourish us, cleanse us, and replenish us. It is a source of life that creates beauty and the very making of tears. This community, like water, is a sustenance of one another's lives, especially when we can remember the sacred obligation to buoy each other up in times of sadness, to nourish each other in times of want, to cleanse each other with acts of kindness and generosity, and to replenish one another when our hearts are weary and worn. Today, with this water, we are reminded visually of our sacred obligation to the greater whole. Now, Reverend Tom will add some salt to the water from the tears that have fallen this week. May remember that there are those among us in pain, so let us be tender with one another, for we don't know what's held in the silent sanctuary of one's heart. And for those uplifting moments when we were touched with the bounty of beauty, of nature, a hug or a smile, a caring act or friendship, Rev Tom will add some flower petals to remind us of the beauty and joy surrounding us. Now, in a moment, if you like, to add a pebble for the joy or sorrow in our collective bowl, I will invite you up to do that as well. But first, we know some of you are online and would like to have a pebble placed in the water, so we will do that now. And if some of you would like Reverend Tom to place a petal for you, please raise your hand now, and he will do that. You are now invited to come forward. May all that we offer to one another keep us connected and blessed within this hour and within this week ahead. May it be so. Amen.
So now is the time when we turn to prayer, meditation, reflection. During this time, Laura and I are going to offer some reflections on Unitarian Universalist, and Unitarian Universalist women forebearers. So I invite you to move into that time of prayer or meditation. You might sit comfortably, place your hands in your lap, take a deep breath. Perhaps let your eyes rest or close, and as you listen to these words, open your heart, mind, and spirit.
Before we do the meditation, I would like to remind us that this is also the time in our service where we share our resources.
Oh!
Is perfectly understandable because this meditation is a wonderful meditation.
Okay.
So this is when we show our gratitude and our commitment by sharing our financial resources. To contribute to this fellowship, please place your offering in an envelope found in the back of the pews, or you can donate to UUFBB by clicking on the QR code that's up on the screen with your phone. Today is also Sharing of Sustenance Sunday. It's one of our social justice outreach efforts. The second Sunday of every month, the loose cash you place in the basket goes to support both the food pantry of Indian River County and our fellowship's monthly meals for persons in transitional housing. Any of the non-perishable food or toiletry items that you brought today will go to the Fellsmere Fridge as part of our effort to support our Latino neighbors in Fellsmere. So the loose cash offering that goes to the food pantry and the financial for meals and housing, we prepare and deliver meals to 3 transitional housing programs each month. We have Camp Haven, James Arthur Court, and Naomi's Place. These agencies provide formerly homeless persons, both men and women, with interim housing. As we receive our offering today, please let us do so generously and gratefully. There's such a need in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice. Well, I'm sitting down, and I guess that's why I wanted to relax so much to get into prayer and meditation. So we're going to go now into prayer and meditation. So allow yourself to take a deep breath. Although I'm already relaxed from that piece of music, it was really good. So settle in, allow yourself to be here, present, and open the words that we'll share. We come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of white supremacy.
Issei Barnwell
Issei Barnwell
founded the Jubilee Singers, the first black-led Unitarian Universalist gospel choir.
We come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of patriarchy.
Olympia Brown
Olympia Brown
fought to be admitted to seminary and became the first woman ordained by a denomination in the United States, campaigned for women's suffrage until the 19th Amendment was finally ratified.
We come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of theocracy.
Sylvie Thigason
Sylvie Thigason
helped to open one of the first birth control clinics in the United States in St. Paul, Minnesota, 50 years before birth control became legal.
We come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of all that dehumanizes and separates us from our dignity and sacred worth.
Dorothea Dix
Dorothea Dix
visited the cells of the mentally ill in Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Louisiana, and North Carolina, bringing to light the mistreatment and working to establish humane hospitals and just laws.
We come from a people bound for freedom, determined to loosen the fetters of fascism. Martha Sharp worked in secret to secure passage for those persecuted by the Nazis in Europe, saving hundreds of lives. We continue today seeking to be truth tellers in our time.
We continue today as barrier breakers in the here and now.
We continue today as peacemakers for this moment. We are bound for freedom, building on foundations laid before us. Let us give thanks.
I have a voice, started out as a whisper, turned into a scream, made a beautiful noise, shoulder to shoulder marching in the street.
When you're all alone, it's a quiet breeze.
But when you band together, it's a choir of thunder and rain. Now we have a choice.
'Cause I a voice. I'm not living to die.
Don't stand in a wasteland, look at me in the eyes, stop living a lie, and stand up next to me. You gotta put one foot in front of the other with a hand in a hand, holding on to each other. Go on and rejoice, 'cause you have a voice. It is loud, it is clear, it's stronger than your fear. It's believing you belong, it's for calling out the wrong. From the silence of my sisters to the violence of my brothers, we can rage against the river, feel the pain of another. I have a voice. I have a voice, and I let it speak for the ones who aren't yet running free. It's killing me. No one is saying what we need to hear. I will not let silence win. Now when I see all the pain our people are in, there's no other choice, 'cause I have a voice. It is loud, it is clear, it is stronger than your fear. It's believing you belong, it's for calling out the wrong. From the mouths of our mothers to the lips of our daughters, we can dream like our brothers, speaking loud like our fathers. We can heal. Can you hear us? Can you hear us now?
I have a voice, started out as a whisper, turned into a scream, made a beautiful noise.
Shoulder to shoulder, marching in the street.
When you're all alone, it's a quiet breeze.
But when you stand together, it's a choir of thunder and rain. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
Wow, that was stunning. Thank you so much. So I want to start our service on International Women's Day introducing you to a man. This man was a liberator of millions of women, impoverished women across the world. And I want to tell you what he did. And I want to tell you my connection with him and also the connection our congregation has with the work this man did to help liberate women. I want to introduce you to Muhammad Yunus. He was the father of microfinancing or microlending. He was from Bangladesh. He was an economist and social business entrepreneur, and he pioneered this concept of microcredit. And the concept was he would give poor women small amounts of money to start a business and set up ways so that they could repay it. These are women that had no collateral, often no education, but had a desire to get out of poverty. He formed what were called solidarity circles, where the women would be in a group, and so if a woman wanted to take out a loan in the microfinancing, the whole group had to support her. The whole group had to sign for the loan, and if she or he defaulted, they were the backup. Now he did this, I say she because when he first started microfinancing, he had solidarity groups with both men and women, but what he's learned early on is that often the men, when they would make a profit in their business, would gamble it away or or drink it up. So, well, women, on the other hand, would reinvest it in the business and invest it in their families. So microfinancing, from his model, started focusing on women. In addition to giving the loans, the microfinancing also taught coping skills, taught classes, coping skills, workplace skills, conflict management, financial literacy, and adult literacy. One of my favorite stories about Muhammad Yunus is he was working with a group of women that were operating out of this shack in India that had dirt floors, and he went back to see them 5 years later. The Solidarity Circle was still intact, and he expected them to be in bigger and nicer accommodations. When he went back, they were in the same shack with the same dirt floors, and he thought, oh my goodness, we failed these women, until he found out that every single woman in this solidarity group had sent their children to college on the profits they made from these micro loans. And so not only were these women in the circle breaking themselves free from poverty, they broke the cycle of poverty in their families. Now, my connection is when I lived in Seattle, I served on a board of directors of a microfinancing organization called Washington Cash. Now, the women in our program had to show that they had a certain percentage of the national level of poverty, their income and assets, to qualify. We put them into groups just as Eunice had designed. We also gave them training. We taught them how to write business plans. We taught them QuickBooks and other financial management. And we also taught them interpersonal skills. We had Dress for Success come in and help them. And so some of these women had to sell their products or go to stores to convince them to take their products. So we taught them how to do that as well. And we did the same thing where the group had to sign off for the loan. And I'll tell you, having that group behind you really helped these women stay focused on their business. The other members of the team would help them. Like if somebody had a trade show, other women from the team would help them at the trade show. They really supported each other. The first loan that the women were eligible for was about $100, which might buy a sewing machine or some product. And then once that's paid off, you could go to the next level. Eventually, some of these women, we trained them to, their business was so successful, we trained them to go to larger financial institutions to get bigger loans. So here's our congregation's connection, and the Fair Trade Corner that we have here features a lot of women artisans and farmers from all over the world, and some of them are women-owned businesses and some of them are using microfinancing. I'm wearing a batik shirt today that's from Global Mamas, which is one of the vendors that we have in our Fair Trade Corner. And they were formed in 2003, and they use microfinancing to alleviate poverty in Ghana. And the women's lives have been transformed through this process. They've had incredible success. Their support circles created a business model that's easily replicable, and they have their products all, if you look them up online, their products are all over the world. It's just been tremendous. This is just one of the examples of what we have in our Fair Trade Corner, and I encourage two things. One is please shop there and support the products that we've had there. And the other is, if you like shopping, volunteer to be a buyer at the Fair Trade Corner. We need more people to help do some buying and get more products in. Today, over 100 million people are borrowing from microfinance globally. I can't identify the source of where I heard this quote, but somebody said, Muhammad Yunus has done for poverty what Bill Gates has done for computer programming. Thank you.
So as you know, this is International Women's Day 2026. But I don't know if you knew that the theme this year is Give to Gain. What they say on their website is the campaign focuses on a mindset of generosity, collaboration, shared progress, encouraging investment in women through mentorship, funding, and resources to drive systemic change and gender equality. Laura's thoughts about microlending are certainly on target with this year's theme. But as I was thinking about the theme, I guess I tend to think of women historically giving much more than they ever gained. Looking back on our foremothers in Unitarian Universalism, I can't help but notice 200 years ago, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, 100 years ago, Olympia Brown and Sylvia Thygesen fighting for women's rights. And here we are still today fighting for women's rights. Reproductive rights, voting rights for women of color, and if this SAVE Act is passed, even women who've changed their names when they got married may lose their right to vote if they don't register. So this is all going on in the present day. We live, my friends, in a patriarchal culture that still expects women to outperform men in order to be thought of as equal to men. A patriarchal culture that still expects women to manage the home, be the primary caregiver for the children, be responsible for the majority of cooking and cleaning, and in not just a few cases, being submissive in heteronormative households, trad wives, for instance. You think we're past all that? Some of you may have felt we should be. I don't know if you've read about the study. It came out just recently of 29 countries. They developed and administered a survey it was developed and administered by King's College in London, and they surveyed people in Great Britain, the United States, Brazil, Australia, and India. The study results found that young men today are more likely than older generations to hold traditional views about gender roles. Some 31% of Gen Z men agree that a wife should always obey her husband. And 1/3 say that a husband has the final word on any important decision in the household. This was 23,000 people in the survey. Gen Z men born between 1997 and 2012 were twice as likely as baby boomer men born between 1946 and 1964 to have traditional views on decision-making in marriage. The Honorable Julia Gillard, AC, chair of the Global Institute for Women's Leadership, King's Business School, said, "It is troubling to see that attitudes toward gender equality are not more positive, particularly with young men. Not only are many Gen Z men putting limiting expectations on women, they are trapping themselves within restrictive gender norms." So what do we do? Unitarian Universalists, what do we do? Those who identify as men, what do we do to support women on this International Women's Day? I can tell you right now that we have people here in this congregation who are already doing work to support women. We have members who are volunteer clinic escorts at a women's place, the only abortion care provider between Orlando and West Palm Beach. And of course, more volunteer clinic escorts are needed. And if you're interested, talk to the people on the Initiative for Reproductive Justice table. They'll be glad to have your name and teach you how to be an escort. Another action that you might take is to attend something that's going to happen here. It's called the Turnaway Play. It'll be here at UUFBB on Saturday, May 16th at 2 p.m. And you will be able to learn of a 10-year longitudinal research study that documented the effects of abortion denial. In other words, being denied an abortion on women's lives and on their children's lives here in the United States. And we, all of us, can learn more about the issues facing women locally and globally. What are the challenges that women face in this patriarchal structure within society and religion? Well, first thing you might do is turn and ask a woman, right? We have a lot of women here. I bet they have something to say. And Unitarian Universalists have continued to try and let people know what's going on. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, for instance, gave voice to some of the thoughts and questions from the perspective of activities of their few migrant justice partners. These are some of them on the screen there. I'm going to give voice to some of them today so you can hear what some of them are saying. As this is from the 2021 International Women's Day and Women's History Month. First, let me share with you UUSC partner of the Network of Mayan Defenders in Guatemala, a women's group. Many women have suffered economic violence and don't have access to justice, says Feliciana Ortiz. I join in this demand for justice. As Indigenous women, we are asking to be treated well. And we say enough is enough with racial discrimination. We also ask all women to join us in this fight. And we ask our brothers to join us too, because what we want is life without violence, a life of equality. And from New York, Zapata, who is a member of the UUSC partner, the Queer Detainee Empowerment Project, said this: women, we are in the fight for the abolition of prisons and the abuse that is done to our bodies. We will reform the world in which we live. We need Black, Indigenous, women of color, and low-income women, because only we know what is lived in our homes. I want it to be recognized everywhere that if women lowered our hands, even the sky would fall. Listening, learning, empathizing, trying to understand, and then taking action. How can we, as Unitarian Universalists, support, aid, understand the women who are being marginalized, disrespected, and oppressed around us here and around the world? What might be the commitment that you could make today in honor of International Women's Day? What would you be willing to do, not just today, but every day, to support women? Laura and I are going to talk for just a minute about the significance of International Women's Day for us personally. So why don't you go ahead? Why is it important to you?
Well, I want to start off by saying the song that you sang about a woman's voice just went through me. It just moved me. And when I saw some of the reaction that some of the women here were having to that piece, we know what that means. And one of the things that I think is really important to recognize today and every day is let women have their voice. It's not unusual, and there's psychological reasons why this happens, but it's not unusual to have men interrupt, cut off, finish sentences, tell women what they're capable or not capable of doing. And so my number one request would be let women have their voice and respect the voices that we have. And that's why it's important to me to hold up women as having the wisdom and the voice, but we ask for the room to be able to express that.
So for me, it starts with my mother. She lived in a household, I grew up in a household with a man who was dominant and aggressive and alcoholic. She didn't have the freedom to have her own voice. She tried to expand her horizons, get education, take on a job, a career, but never got support from my father. And the other reason that's important to me, and Martha's going to be surprised I say this, so if she looks surprised when I'm saying it, that's okay. She's behind me. I would love there to be a day when Martha doesn't feel like men aren't that great. I mean, she accepts me for me, but you know, I'd love for her to think that men are really supportive of women in this culture. And she gets example after example after example where men are not supportive. And I'd love one day for that to change. I want to offer a passage to you before we hear the final hymn today. It's from Wayne Martin Mellinger, PhD. As you reflect on what you might do and consider, as we consider steps forward to support women, may we be the one who rises above the crowd, who sets aside daily life, who pushes past fears and transcends doubts, who blazes the path for justice, who maintains a vision of the beloved community, who helps to heal the hurts in the world. Help us. Help us to stand unswerving against hatred and discrimination, with humble courage for truth and compassion, to serve humanity by loving our neighbors. Together we will get to the promised land. Many have dreamed of this destiny. Some have given their lives for the promise of a new life. My friends, our struggles will not be in vain. Together we can do anything. So amen, amen, ah women.
please join us for our closing hymn, number 1026, If Every Woman in the World, verses 1 and 4. Rise and embody your spirit.
My friends, go in hope, for the arc of the universe is long, and we can bend it toward justice. Go in courage, for together we have the strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and the larger world. And go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives and the world. Amen. Hey, woman. That's right.